Hey guys, welcome back to another Pro Data Man Trains demo. My name's Antoine Victor, and this will be a demonstration of test-driven development. And to that end, we're going to use a stack class, and we're going to write the test to help us drive the coding of that stack class. So let's dive right into the matrix. So our stack class is going to have four methods: an IsEmpty method, a push method to push items onto the stack, a pop method to pop items off of the stack, and then a peek method to see what's on the stack without taking it off. We're going to do this in Visual Studio in C#. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now, the first thing that we're going to want to do here is create a new project. So I'm going to create a new project from the File menu. And the type of project that we're going to create is going to be an ASP.NET web application using the .NET framework. I've already got that here in my recent projects, so I'm going to select it from here, but we could also find it in this list by selecting C#, Windows, and Web. And you can see ASP.NET web applications are here in this list somewhere. There it is, ASP.NET web application using the .NET framework towards the bottom of the list here. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we have that selected either here and or here, and then choose next. And we're going to rename our application project to Service Reservations Web User Interface. Now that's our project. Our project will be contained inside of a solution, and since we're probably going to have a test project here as well, we'll just call the solution Service Reservations, and it will contain a Service Reservations Web UI project as well as a Service Reservations Web UI test project. We'll click Create, and then it'll ask us what type of web application we want to create. Well, we want to use an MVC, a Model View Controller template. As well, we want to enable individual user account authentication, because that will allow us to store our user profiles either in a SQL Server database or allow our users to register and sign in using their existing account for Facebook, Twitter, Google, Microsoft, or another provider. So we'll click OK there, and then we're going to check this checkbox down here to also create a project for unit tests. And you can see the default name for the project here is Service Reservations Web UI.tests. So we'll create that. And once our project is created, we'll take a quick peek at some of the existing tests that are in this template from Microsoft. So you can see here in the Solution Explorer that we have our Service Reservations Web UI project, collapse that, as well as our Service Reservations Web UI test project, collapse that also. Now, both of these projects are inside of our one solution called Service Reservations. So the first thing that we want to do is take a look at the tests that were created for us. In our controllers folder, we've got a home controller tests.cs. If we open that, we can see that there are three tests here. A test for our index page, a test for our about page, and a test for our contact page. Now, we're only going to modify the test for the about page. Here, our about page test is looking to create an instance of the home controller and then get the results of the about function, which will be a view result that we'll store in the variable result. Now, we're going to use that result object to check and see what's in the view bag stored as a message. Now, in this case, what should be stored in that view bag message on the About page is the text, your application description page. But since we called this application Service Reservations, let's change that to Service Reservations description page. Now, because I'm changing the test before actually changing the page, this test should fail now. So I'm going to come down to this Test Explorer here, and I am going to tell it to run all tests. And here we can see we have 2 passing tests and 1 failing test. The failing test is our about test, and our about test is failing because, if we stretch it out a little bit here, our about test is failing because it was expecting to get the value service reservations description page, but what it actually got back was the output your reservation, or rather your application description page. So our test was expecting to receive service reservations description page, but what it actually got was your application description page. So you can see here, expected was service reservations description page. The actual was your application description page. And this is just because we changed the test first, and we have not yet changed the code under test. So let's do that. If we go to controllers in the Web UI project and open the home controller, you can see here the about function returns the view bag message, your application description page, and not service application description page that our test was looking for, or service reservation description page. Now that we've updated the page to actually output what the test is expecting, we should be able to run our tests and see it pass now. Now we have 3 passing tests. Our about page was expecting service reservation description page, and now it's getting service reservations description page. So we have 3 passing tests. Let's take this concept a step further. We're now going to go to our test project, and we are going to add a new unit test. We're going to rename our unit test from unit test 1 to stack tests. And yes, we want to rename all references so it renames in the class file as well. Now that's been updated. And we are going to write our first test for the IsEmpty method. Our IsEmpty test. So our IsEmpty method just needs to let us know that the stack is empty if there's nothing in it, and if there's something in the stack, it should tell us that the stack is not empty. So it should return true if the stack is empty and false if the stack is not empty. So first things first, we need a stack. So we're going to reference our non-existent stack class and store it in the variable stack with the lowercase s and set that equal to a new instance of our non-existent stack class. Now, once we've successfully created an instance of our stack class, we are going to want to store the results of calling the IsEmpty method into a variable, this time called IsEmpty. And when we call the stack class's IsEmpty method, we expect it to return a Boolean value, either a true or a false, indicating whether the stack has something in it. Now at this point, we haven't put anything in the stack, so IsEmpty should return true. So we are going to assert that the stack IsEmpty method is returning true using assert isTrue. And we are just going to compare that IsEmpty method. And as long as the stack is empty and IsEmpty returns true, our test will pass. Now we're going to use the code generation tools to generate just enough of the application structure so that the code can compile and our test can run and fail. So first, we're going to generate the type stack by using the generate new type dialog box. And I'm going to tell it that I want to create my stack in the Web UI project, not in the Web UI test project. And I don't want to add it to an existing file. I want to create a new file called stack.cs. And when I click OK, you'll notice that the red squiggly beneath stack goes away because now the compiler knows that a stack class exists and where it's defined. And now that it knows where the stack class is and where it's defined, it knows that it does not have an IsEmpty method declared. So now we have a red squiggly under IsEmpty. But we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use the code generation tools to generate the method stack.isEmpty. And you can see by the sample here that it's going to create the method throwing an exception, not implemented exception. So that way when we try to run the test will fail, but it'll be very clear why the test is failing. So now we can run our test. Notice we can run our test from the test menu as well as from the test explorer. Now if we look over here in our test explorer, we can see that we have a new set of tests, the stack tests, where there is one test case, and this test case is our IsEmpty test, and it is failing because, if we read the message here, it's failing because the method or operation is not yet implemented. So it's not failing because we have a logic error or because we coded something wrong. It's failing because we haven't coded anything yet. So now we can write just enough code to pass our test. So from our stack method, if we hover our mouse over IsEmpty or we right click, we can choose go to definition, or we can press F12 to take us to where this method is defined in the stack class. You can see here it's throwing an exception. So to resolve this, in this demo, we are going to create a custom stack by creating an instance of an array list. Now in this case, our stack class doesn't know what an array list is, so we will again use the code generation tools to make a reference to system.collections where the array list class is defined. Now that we have a new instance of the array list stored in the stack variable, we can flesh out our IsEmpty method by returning the results of stack.count equals 0. So the result of this expression will be true if the count of the items in the stack is 0, and false if the count of the items in the stack is anything but 0. So given an empty stack, this will return true. Given a non-empty stack, this will return false. Let's test that theory by, again, running our tests. And now we can see that the IsEmpty test is passing because there's nothing in the stack and IsEmpty returns true. We'll flesh out the rest of the tests in the next demo. Thanks for watching.